Good morning. I'm Margie O'Driscoll, and I'm the Design Competition Coordinator for the Architecture at Zero competition. It's a design competition for decarbonization, equity, and resilience, open to students and professionals around the world. It serves to engage the fields of architecture, design, engineering, and planning in pursuit of sustainable design. Our challenge this year asks entrants to develop affordable housing for farm worker families in Visalia, California, in the heart of the nation's Central Valley, the most important agricultural spot in the United States, and some would argue the world. The Architecture at Zero competition is presented by Pacific Gas and Electric, PG&E, Southern California Edison, SCE, San Diego Gas and Electric, SDGE, and Southern California Gas Company, SoCal Gas, and the American Institute of Architects, California. Today, we're joined by Visalia Mayor Steve Nelsen. He and I are going to talk a little bit about Visalia, what you should know about it, and we're so lucky to have you here today with us, Mayor Nelsen.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, it's really great to have you. So listen, the first thing I want to ask you is, how did you come to be the mayor of Visalia?
Well, basically, our system of government, we don't have a strong mayor. So the fellow council members, you pick your peer group, you pick the mayor after every major election. And I always tell folks, either you grow up and it's in your blood that you want to get into, say, politics, or something that has affected you personally, you then get involved. So for me, the federal government remapped the city of Visalia for flood zone. And I happen to live about maybe not even a quarter of a mile from the St. Johns River. And I'd lived in my house for quite a few years, never had to have flood insurance. All of a sudden I had to. So I got involved and I held a lot of meetings in the community, and I'm not a council member at that time. I just held meetings to inform people what's coming, what they need to do. And yeah, people reaching out to me. So that kind of got me going to council meetings. So I attended every council meeting for over a year. And then I had people in the community say, Steve, you need to run for city council. And it was kind of funny, at one of the meetings, I was going back and forth with one of the then council members. And he said, from the dais, he said to me, I was at the lectern, he goes, maybe you should run for council. And I said, well, I just might. But in all seriousness, I wasn't going to go. I was busy enough. That wasn't on my radar. But I had people reach out to me, which I found very complimentary. I got into the race late, had to raise a lot of money. And I was fortunate that I won. And it's now, when I finish this term, it'll be 13 years. This is my second stint for being mayor. And I think what drives it and what drives me is I love the community. I love the Central Valley. And people will say to me, I don't usually readily say this, but people will say to me, I have a servant heart because I'm involved in so many different areas. I sit on, I think I'm up to now 4 different boards in my day job, because we're all part-time. But in all honesty, being mayor is a full-time job. Being a council member is a full-time job. You just got to figure out how to navigate your calendar and stuff like that. But like I told people a while back, and it's kind of a joke kind of thing, figured all the meetings I attended and everything else, I figured out, and we get a small stipend for being on council. I said, I figured out I couldn't even afford a Happy Meal because I was going so many different directions. And it's true, it's constant. But my full-time position, I represent the downtown Visalians, which is our main street for the city of Visalia, and the main street's the heart of Visalia. So on top of that, and the city and the other boards I sit on, yeah, you have to be willing to have that servant heart. But I think also what I tell people, if you're passionate about something, you find the time and how to do it. If it's work, and that's the image you have in yourself, that this is a job, then you find excuses not to do it. I'm passionate about what I do. I get involved in things I'm passionate about. And one of the things really cool is I sit on a board, it's called Visit Visalia. It's the Visitors Convention Bureau for the City of Visalia. And the CEO for that organization came up with a program concerning autism. And so she called me up one day and she goes, Steve, because I sit on the board, we're asking board members to take this class. And I know you're really busy. Will you do the 2-hour class and just get it done? And I said, no, I'll take the lengthy one. I'll take the 4-hour class. And so what it meant is we're now a certified autism destination. We're now working to expand that program through the whole city. And if we can achieve that goal, which I'm all in, because I want to have people understand our city's inviting for everybody. If there's a limitation, then we need to figure out how to do away with that limitation. So we're going to try to become the first city in the state of California to be autism certified. On that, our Park and Rec department is now looking to put in what we call an inclusive park. We'll be the only inclusive park except in Sacramento. There's a big gap to where the next one is, and we're trying to get an inclusive park. Again, showing that we care about everybody. And I think that's why I'm proud and I'm blessed to be on council. I'm blessed that my fellow city council members chose me again to be mayor. It's what I love to do. I'm on 24/7 and people are amazed. They'll send me an email at 9:30 at night and on a Sunday night, and I'll respond and they're amazed because they said, I didn't think I'd hear from you until Monday if I ever even heard from you. So I'm very responsive to who I serve. And so, yeah, I love what I'm doing.
Wow, you so clearly love your community, and there are so many interesting things that you mentioned. One of them I'd like to just explore a little further, which is you did mention that you originally became engaged in this responding to flood issues for Visalia. Right now, California is largely in a drought. So would you say that that's not really such a front and center issue today as it might have been when you began your career?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I became an outspoken critic of the whole situation. It was federally driven. It wasn't city driven. A lot of times people think the city's doing things. No, a lot of times what happens, as you probably know, federal government will hand down a mandate or the state will hand down a mandate, but the city becomes a messenger. And so that you shoot the messenger, so to speak. In reality, the only way the city of Visalia would flood is if our dam broke and the water out of Lake Cahuilla would come tumbling down. There's not a lot of water in Lake Cahuilla. Drought is a major issue. For the city, the governor, it's been probably 10 years, established the groundwater sustainability agencies. And I've been a board member since the inception. I'm past chair, currently I'm vice chair, so I'll be chair again. So I'm all in on water. I sit on 4 water committees now for the city. We're in dire straits. Water is paramount. Drought is really bad. People don't grasp it yet. But what I tell people is, if you look at last year at the end of summer, which we normally equate to end of September, we were at 144 feet water depth, which is deep. This year, mid-August, we were already at 145. So things have to change. The governor asked for a voluntary 15% conservation, and I think overall the state did 1.8%. Not good at all. And so I do a lot of talks on water. I tell people, you really can't consume or conserve that much interior of your house because of all the water conservation appliances now and stuff like that. Where you can conserve is on your landscape, and people don't realize, depending on the size of lot, you're going to utilize 50 to 60% of your water usage is landscape watering. The Central Valley is pretty much a desert, but then you have to have your lush lawns and water consuming plants and People need to rethink how they landscape their yards and stuff, and that's the only way we're going to really help. And people tend to point their finger at ag. And I always tell, because I've been in ag over 30 years, the ag community gets it because water is a commodity for them. They're probably one of the most conscientious water conservation thought people. The biggest user of water is environmental. second by ag, and then urbanization. It's going to take everybody coming together and figure out solutions and figure out how to conserve to help us with our drought situation.
Absolutely. I wanted to ask you, because this design competition is focused on farm worker housing, can you talk a little bit about the farm worker community and how it works within the agricultural community within the Central Valley and Visalia specifically?
Sure. I mean, being in the ag for, like I said, over 30 years, I got to get to know a lot of great people. And I'm talking workers that were in the field, workers in the packing house. They're a fantastic group of people. They're very family foundational. They're very loving and caring. You know, and when I got into the ag, there's different programs that bring folks across to work. And I kind of joke, it's not really a joke, I'm kind of being serious, but kind of joking with folks, because I've ran packing operations and stuff like that, that when people talk about our unemployment rate, you take a person and say, hey, I got a job for you in the field, or I got a job for you picking oranges off trees, or I got a job for you in the packing house. Well, I can't do that. And that always amazed me. These people, great people, they go in and they do a hard day's work. They're a friendly group, loving group, and yet, history speaking, I don't think we've done enough. And I think we need to figure that out. I mean, the big buzzword today is illegal immigrants. Figure out a way to make it so they become legal. Figure out a way that they can navigate through where they're not taken advantage of. Figure out a way that you can enhance what they do and then give them the capability to succeed and give them that ability to promote upward. And a lot of the companies I worked for did that. And it was amazing to see where a lot of the companies I worked for, you'd have your first generation and then your second generation, and you know, but it's a whole gamut that you got to look at. And I think we need to do a better job, because I think people don't realize, and I've always jokingly said this, and what the heck, I'll just put it out there. People in Los Angeles, San Francisco, they don't understand where their food comes from. You do away with ag and you become dependent on foreign food, it's a bad situation to be in. We've got to figure out how to rise up, support our ag industry, support the people that are in that industry, and make available the opportunity to promote upward, like I said, but also create the opportunity where it's a career and you can sustain a family, you can have a house and so forth and so on, and basically achieve the American dream.
I'm so touched at the way that you speak about the people. It's so clearly from your heart, and I just want to say I'm really touched by that.
Well, you know, I'll share with you. I had a very close friend of mine who is Hispanic. We had started a business. He was to become a partner in the business, and then he's one of those macho kind of guys, and he decided to pull a tooth, and he got the infection went out through his whole body. But we were very close. Some of my best friends are Hispanic. And I'll share, early on in my career, I worked out in the Los Angeles produce market, which you have every ethnicity known to man. And it was just a fun group, very caring group. And that's what the ag industry is. Very caring, very loving. We just need to figure it out. And I think for me, I tell people I'm not a politician. I have bills to pay. I put my pants on the same way as everybody else. And I flat tell I'm not a politician. I'm just like you folks. We have failed a segment of our community. And take the politics out of it, take all the rhetoric out of it, just figure it out. And for the life of me, and I've been in it for so long, for the life of me, I can't understand why this is so difficult.
Yeah, well said. Okay, I want to ask you about another difficult issue. Well, sort of two together. Throughout California, of course, we have an extreme housing crisis, and it's particularly impacts people who earn less money, so they have less choices. So I wonder if you could just talk a little bit about why affordable housing and sustainable building practices are important in your community. So it's just a chance for you to tell people, especially from outside the Visalia area, what's it like to be on the ground? Because these are acute problems, I think, in Visalia as well.
You're absolutely right. I mean, one thing I'll hang my hat on is a study was done, and the most affordable housing is in the Central Valley. But between you and I and whoever's going to listen to this, I question that. Because how is affordable housing $200,000, $300,000 if you're just starting out in a career, and everybody's clamoring for increase in minimum wage? So let's just say everybody does the right thing and you're going to make $15 to $18 an hour. How are you going to afford a house? I also jokingly say to people, as the folks in Sacramento keep adding things onto the house, you keep going down a path where it's no longer affordable. I'm not saying some of the things aren't needed, but when you mandate, it just magically happens. All of a sudden, the price of a house goes up 10, 15, 20%, and then they add another mandate, another 15, 20%. I think what needs to happen is we need to figure out that true affordable housing landscape, then figure out how do we make that affordable house obtainable, and then how do you make that house affordable to live in? And I think the way to make it affordable to live in is build it in such a way where you're able to lower utility bills, water bills, all of that, because that's part of owning a home. Energy efficiency is key. How can we do that without the political mandates? Because it just seems like when that happens, let's say it normally would cost 10%. Now you put a political mandate to it, now it's 30%. No, we need to figure that one out. Because otherwise, you'll always have families renting a house, and you'll have 6 to 10 family members living there. It could be multiple families. And like I said early on, when we look at ag, yeah, we need to figure that part out. We have a section in Visalia that is heavily, for a better term, low income. And yeah, you see multiple families in that house. You know, let's figure out with a level of low income, then let's figure out how do we get housing. Maybe it's a smaller lot size, maybe it's smaller square footage, and then how to design that house where it's affordable to actually live in the house. And I think that's paramount. I think if we can do that, then housing is available for everybody. I mean, and when I look at people currently, I'm going to rent an apartment, and you're getting an apartment and it's going to cost you $1,500 a month. Again, I don't know if that's the right business model. And I would love to sit down with somebody and say, let's figure out a business model. We have agencies in the city of Visalia that deal with low-income housing, manage low-income housing. They do a great job. They do a great job building them and managing them. And it gives those folks an opportunity to have home ownership. And again, you know, I get it. I'm in a generation that has a different thought process than a younger generation today. But it's always been the American dream to have a family, be able to afford to have a family. And the next part of that dream is a career. Next part of that dream is have housing. We need to make that dream possible. And in all honesty, for a lot of our community, I don't know if it is possible. And to me, that's a shame, because we're not living the American dream.
Yeah, that is, you're so right. I don't know. I don't know how to say it otherwise. You've been so articulate on that. Let me just ask you, we've talked about challenges of affordable housing. We've talked about the challenges of water. What other challenges do you see facing the people of Visalia?
Sure. I mean, the water is key. The other one is the state of California is the #1 location for homelessness. I do a lot of meetings and speeches on homelessness, and the new rule of thumb is you take 1% of your population, that's your homeless population. So our population is about 141,000 plus now. So if you use that formula, we're at about 1,400. Reality, we're probably 15 to 1,600.
Mhm.
And I said, in all honesty, that's more of an inconvenience. When you look at Los Angeles County, they have a population of 66,000. But it's a concern because it's visual. That's a major issue. We do a citizen survey once a year. And right now, the last 5 years on the citizen survey, the #1 concern for the population is homelessness. So I've been involved in homelessness since I've been on council. I do a lot of study on it. Again, and I'm not trying to pick on anybody, but government thinks the best way to handle situations, just throw money at it with not a lot of thought. There's been a lot of money wasted. What people don't understand on the homeless issue, you've got to find that diamond in the rough, the person that's come on to hard time, could be through a traumatic incident, could be lost a job during the COVID. They don't know where to turn. They're not willing to seek help. You got to find that person, get them stabilized, get them a job, and bring them back on their feet. And I have a gentleman that works for me at night. That's what I did. I took him. He was living at the Visalia Rescue Mission. He got on a bike at 2 a.m. to get his truck at 3 to be at work here. He's now has his own apartment, his own car, reunited with his kids. That's who you have to find. But there's a segment of the homeless population, that's their lifestyle. So again, I jokingly say to people when I do my speeches, we've always had homelessness. My generation, they were hobos. But to add complexity to it now is you have mental health issues, addiction issues. So that's an ongoing problem. State mandate on recyclables, lessen the amount of goods that go to a landfill. We're trying to navigate that. I think that has to be more educational component to it. I think those are the main things. We're the 4th fastest growing city in the country. But we have planned growth in the aspect of we do concentric growth. So we already have that planned out. And that's handled very well. But I think what we've touched on earlier, I think planned growth is good. Affordability has to go along with that. And we need to figure that out. We have to figure that out. And then the governor just mandated in the state of California where you can basically take, if you have to live on a large lot, you can take part of your lot and build a small apartment on the back lot. And again, trying to figure out how you can get more housing available and then again, make it more affordable. I don't know if that's the answer, but it's a step. We'll have to figure that out.
Yeah. We spent a lot of time talking about the challenges you face as mayor. I'd like to ask you about how you talk about Visalia, because it's clear you have a lot of love for it. And I know that you talk to people, you're an amazing booster of your community. And so I'd like to really end our conversation with a chance for you to be the booster that I know you are about why you love this community, because it's so clear that you're in it for love, to be working so deeply, so many hours a day on so many challenging issues, but you love this community. So tell us what you love about it.
Well, I think what brought me up here was ag. And when I first moved up, because I played soccer in college and my kids were involved naturally. And so I coached at the local high school for 9 years, and that got me involved with a lot of great people. I think what I love about Visalia, and a good example would be when we went through the pandemic and the governor locked down the economy here. We had to figure out a way to help our local businesses. And so the organization I work with, we do a lot of videos. And I put out a call, hey, we need to rally around downtown, because downtown Visalia is the heart of the city. When you come on council, there's areas you got to really kind of protect, and downtown's one of them. And when we put out the video, it was amazing to see the people rally around, and we were pushing to buy gift cards for restaurants and retail. Maybe not use them today, but use them in the future where you feel safer to go out. The community rallied around that. This organization we put on what's called the Candy Cane Lane Parade. We'll have 15,000 people line up for the parade. It's a very giving community. When there's a need, the community rallies. And that's, to me, is paramount. I serve on a lot of boards. I always tell people that I never say no, and I need to take a class on how to say no, but I'll fail. But anyway, if it concerns veterans or kids, I never say no. This community has that heart. I mentioned the autism. This community comes forth and they understand it. We're trying to build upon that. And the one thing I did a press conference for them is that this community cares about anybody. So when you hear in the national news diversity and inclusiveness and all these buzzwords that are all the political buzzwords, that's what this community is. We pick people up. We don't put people down. This community is very supportive of their public safety. They're very supportive of all nationalities. They're all supportive of different groups that come together. That's what I love about the community. And that's why it's really easy for me to get involved, because you don't hear the word no. What you hear is, how can I help? And if more communities would have that heart, we'd have less issues. And that's why I'm proud to be the mayor of Visalia.
That is so beautiful. I'm going to end right there, because that is so from the heart and so very genuine. And I really want to thank you, Mayor Nelsen, for spending this time with us. Thank you for all of the work that you're doing, both as the mayor and then all the other community engagement work that you're doing. So thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you to those of you who've listened to this recording. Encourage you to enter the Architecture at Zero competition. Entries are due in January 2022, and the mayor is going to be looking at what wins, that's for sure. Maybe
exactly
for that particular project, and others for his idea, because you can see this is a man on the go. So thank you all of you. Thanks to all of you for listening.